Hi, welcome. I am delighted that you are here and hope that our break to breathe will be restorative and beneficial, a safe haven of quiet repose and reflection. As I have said before, I find these few moments to be a kind of mini retreat from the world and its stresses, strains, and pressures. It is remarkable to me how quickly, with the proper intention, with closing our eyes and focusing on something we hardly notice unless it is amiss, our breathing, how that can transport us to another place and a kind of time out of time. By way of introduction to today's meditation, I would share with you the happy news that my son is getting married this weekend. I do this only because I want to share with you some thoughts relating to this event and the work we have been doing together. When people hear that he is getting married, the overwhelming response is, "Are you excited?" To be honest, the question stumps me somewhat because while I am deeply grateful that he has found a loving partner with whom to share his life, while I am somewhat nervous and expectant about the weekend ahead, and while I have every expectation of having a wonderful time, I am not aware of feeling excited, although I may just be far too literal about the question. I am aware of a quieter response that is joyful and proud of the person he is, the maturity he demonstrates, the kindness and compassion he extends to others, and the quality of his relationship with his intended, as far as I can observe. There is something else. Somewhere in my brain, I am resistant to investing any single moment or event with too much significance. I have always been appreciative of the multifaceted and multi-layered Jewish holiday cycle, because in its wonderful variety of purpose, celebration, and meaning, it avoids what I might identify as the Christmas syndrome. I have always thought that it must be very difficult to place so much importance on a single day of the year. What if it doesn't live up to expectations? What happens the day after? It's a whole year until it comes again. I think there is something related to the work we do here in focusing on right now, this moment, this breathing in and breathing out. We are practicing to live our lives in the present moment as much of the time as we possibly can. Anticipation makes me nervous. There are few occasions that can live up to our fantasies about them. Even weddings are human events with lots of moving parts, all of which may not be realized as perfectly as hoped. The couple will still get married, and hopefully, irrespective of any disappointment in the wedding details, will enjoy a long, loving, and mutually supportive marriage as true partners. And that may point to my ultimate opinion in this situation and why I find meditation so meaningful. I believe that life is lived in the small moments, the day-to-day joys and challenges, the frustrations and victories, the routines and schedules. The big moments are wonderful punctuation points along the way. They often mark transitions, new adventures, and other important milestones, but they are not where we live. They can be wonderfully inspiring and instructive if they send us on a positive trajectory of exploration, growth, and discovery. But we can't stay at that high point. We need to come down to earth to make real our highest aspirations. Let us pause here for a moment and actually take our break, or the first break, to breathe. taking our meditative places. I like to think of my feet planted firmly on the ground, sitting with attention, but with some ease, and then letting go. Of course, for me, the first thing I usually do when I let go is close my eyes. So if that is something that is comfortable for you, I invite you to do so, or just to softly gaze somewhere in the distance on something that is completely neutral to you, if that is possible. And then let us let go of our jaws and our heads and our ears and our necks. Oh my God, our necks, my neck. I always know it's there. Shoulders, we might just stretch them out a little bit and unclench our hands as we lay them comfortably, easily in our laps. We let go of our stomachs that we may be holding on to. Our legs, our thighs, our lower legs, our knees, wiggle our toes. And just sit for a moment, taking inventory from top to bottom, letting all the tensions go, just letting them go, releasing them. And let us take a good breath, concentrating on it, feeling it go in our nostrils or our mouths, following the air as it goes through the passages in our face, in our faces, and down our throats, filling up our torsos. And we might imagine the breath going in all the way to the tips of our fingers, all the way to the tips of our toes. And we might hold it there for just a moment and then let it out. All at once, slowly perhaps. And then let us just pause with the exhalation before we take our next breath. And then the intake is so second nature, but if we concentrate on it, if we follow it, we're just focusing on that wonderful breath coming into our bodies, filling us with life and health and strength, we pray. And then going out again. In this moment. And if between thinking about inhaling the breath and thinking about how it is how it is leaving your body, how you are exhaling, if other thoughts intrude, notice them. Let us let them go. If they are worthy of our attention, they will return. If they are just passing interruptions, we can let them go. This is where we live. Right here, right now. in this breath in and in this breath out. We might even think, as we do this, something like, I am breathing in, I am breathing out. Or my life is right now, here, present, all of me. Right here, right now, present, all of me. There is one more thought I would share with you on this subject. I don't mean to make it all about me. I'm actually hoping that some of you might resonate to my reflections. I crave a certain balance in life that is disturbed both by major celebrations and, God forbid, calamities. I suppose I have a fear that equilibrium will not return. Even our tradition warns against excess grieving for a loved one. The stories of our ancestors seem to instruct us that nothing stays forever, that our lives are constantly shifting, changing, adjusting. And in fact, a feeling of elation one day can change into one of dejection and distress in the blink of an eye. The constant variability of our fortunes is, in fact, embedded in our tradition. Our patriarchs and matriarchs are constantly confronting changes in their circumstances. In one instant, Abraham is God's chosen one, whom God will bless with land and descendants numerous as the stars in the heavens. And the next moment, God commands Abraham to slay his own child. Jacob flees for his life from his brother Esau, whom he has tricked out of his birthright and his rightful blessing. Jacob has nothing as he makes his way to his mother's family in another country to indenture himself to his uncle for what turns out to be 14 years. When Jacob finally returns to his homeland, it is as a rich man with wives, children, and property. His son Joseph literally rises from the pit into which his brothers have thrown him out of their jealousy and hatred of him. He rises from that pit to become the most powerful man in the ancient world, after the Pharaoh himself. All of this is prelude to the formative story of our people. We were slaves in Egypt, and it was through a miraculous deliverance that we became free. We fell and we rose and we fell and rose again and again and again. Our history is filled with that theme. Excuse me. Our history is filled with that theme, lived over and over again, in century after century, in country after country. We know this story. We have lived it, breathed it, steeled ourselves against it. But we have learned whatever is now is not permanent. It will change. It will evolve. It will pass. Which is part of the lesson of our meditation practice when we say, if a thought intrudes, let it go. Do not engage with it. See if you can live in just this moment without distraction by thoughts of yesterday or tomorrow. When we can separate ourselves from our thoughts, we avoid the trap of believing we are what we are thinking. Our thoughts and our feelings are just that. They are thoughts and feelings. They come and go. They are not us. We can let them pass. They do not define us. I hope these thoughts have resonated in some way with you. Or if you disagree with my experience, I would love to hear your thoughts. In the meantime, when I am asked, are you excited? I will answer, I will be in the moment. Until then, I am delighted at the prospect. I am grateful that I figure in my children's lives, and I pray that every day they will find love, laughter, and fulfillment in each other. Let us breathe. Let us resume our positions if we have abandoned them a bit. Let us let go and let us breathe in the wonder of just this moment. And breathe it out again. If some of you are asking, how do we prepare for the future if our thoughts are only now? There are limits, of course. Most of our lives, we are preparing for something, even as simple as fixing lunch or dinner, anticipating certain deadlines at work or at home, and certainly preparing for certain moments in the week, whether they are for friends or with friends or family members, loved ones, colleagues, workers, co-workers. But even as we engage in those endeavors, even when we know they are for a future time, we can concentrate at the moment on what we are doing and not lose the now for what's coming. Living in the now allows us to live also in the now of big moments when they arrive. We exercise the muscles of now when we engage in our meditative practice. Always going back to the very basic breath in, breath out. Now. Here. This is where I am. No place else. And I am not contemplating being anywhere else, but right here, right now. By way of conclusion and intention going into our week, I would share with you our tradition's ultimate declaration of balance, of this moment's needs, of the variability of our lives. It is a creative translation and interpretation from the book of Ecclesiastes. To everything, there is a season and a time for every purpose under the heaven. A time to be born and a time to die. Death complements birth. They form the bookends of life. Resting between them is a life filled with an abundance of things to see, to feel, to touch, to taste, to understand, to do. There is a time to plant, envisioning a future, and a time to harvest, seeing one's dreams fulfilled. There is a time to kill, weeding a garden, breaking a fall, stopping aggression, completing a task, closing a chapter, and a time to heal, binding a wound, blotting a tear, forgiving a mistake, returning home. There is a time to break down the walls that confine us, setting us free, and a time to build the bridges that connect us, binding us together. There is a time to weep and a time to laugh, and sometimes weeping and laughing arrive as one, when memory brings joy and absence sorrow. There is a time to mourn, marching to the solemn beat of a funeral procession, and a time to dance, turning and spinning at a wedding. There is time to cast away stones, clearing a field for planting, and a time to gather stones together, building a house or covering a grave. There is a time to hold a loved one tightly, never wanting to let go, and a time to release one's embrace and set one's dear one free. There is a time to seek, looking for answers, chasing a goal, pursuing ambition, and a time to lose, accepting failure, forgiving wrongs, moving on. There is a time to keep as we build our lives and fill our homes, and a time to cast away as we let go of that which holds us back. There is a time to rend, tearing our garments in grief, and a time to sew, mending them again, but the seam will always remain. There is a time to keep silence, listening to our hearts, and a time to speak, sharing our thoughts with others. There is a time to love, bringing close those who enrich our lives, and a time to hate, distancing ourselves from those who diminish us. There is a time of strife because no life is without struggle, and a time of peace. When all is done, when all is complete, when our days are full, when the story is told, when we are all together, when the circle is whole. Moment upon moment, everything is but for a moment, says the book of Ecclesiastes. So let us cherish this moment, each moment, and all the moments we share. Amen.